Cancer Schmancer is dedicated to ensure that all women with cancer will be diagnosed in stage 1 when it's most curable.
Cancer Schmancer, people. Stage 1 is the cure.
I'm back on Skype with one of my favorite humans, Rosie O'Donnell. Now, Rosie, you know, when you had this scare, did you share it with the kids? Did you keep it to yourself? Who knew about it?
Well, I did. You know, it happened so quickly. I had the first MRI on Wednesday. They found something. I went to my surgeon, and she did the surgery right that day. So when I came home, there was a lot of bruising, and my kids were like, "Where were you all day? You weren't home." And I said, "Well, you know, weird. I had to get something taken out of my breast, and they think it's going to be okay, and I'm going to have another thing taken out." And Parker was sitting behind me, and he said, "You know, Mom, you don't have breast cancer." I said, "I don't? How do you know?" He goes, "Because I would feel it inside of me."
Oh, bless his heart.
Yeah. I was like, "Well, you know, honey, I think you're right, but it's always best to be on top of it, and, you know, stage 1 is the cure." You taught me that, honey.
Now, you know, I really appreciate that, you know, you talk to your kids like that. And because, you know, when when your mom passed away from cancer, and especially back in those days, families, I don't think, were as communicative. I think they didn't even say breast cancer out loud then.
Yeah.
And so I think that, does that have an influence on how you deal with your own children now?
Yeah, 100%. You know, we were so often kept in the dark, and, you know, as Irish Catholic family and sort of culturally, they don't really talk about their feelings, which is, you know, why I always loved all the Jewish families in the neighborhood. It's why I love your parents so much. They're so, like, they throw their arms around you, mishpucha, how are you feeling? Oh, I love you, look at you, put on you. So, like, that's what I live for. And the Irish people generally keep it down, right? So I sort of act more like a Jewish mother, even though I'm an Irish girl from New York. But
well, that's the best combination.
Yeah, I tell them everything that they have.
Now, I just want to tell the audience, in case they don't know, that how we met. What can you tell us how we met on the movie and everything?
It was my first movie. It was before League of Their Own, even though it was released way after. And I had never been on a movie set. I had no idea what to do. You were not there the first part of the day. It was me and David Johansen and another actor who I didn't know that well. And they said, "Okay, now you're going to get thrown in the dumpster." And I was like, "Oh, all right." And they go, "Yeah, stand here." And they had people throwing me into the dumpster. So after about 4 or 5 takes, I hear this voice, "Hold it! Angel, come here. Why are you letting them throw you in the dumpster? They have some people to do that. You're not throwing her in again. Come here, Angel. Let's go to craft service. You taught me how to do everything. How to show up on time, and, you know, I've been in love with you ever since."
And we've been... And our nickname for each other is Angel. After that, we always call each other Angel. And we've been friends ever since. And, you know, I knew you from when you were doing Star Search. And, but then you said, you know, "I'm going to the art museum," because we were shooting in Toronto. And I was so happy. I said, "I love an art museum. I'll come with you." And a friendship was very quickly forged. Now, let me ask you something, Ro, because I don't think a lot of people really realize, if it hasn't happened to them, how devastating it is and was for you and your siblings when your mom passed away, and how you almost overnight turned into latchkey kids. Your dad was always working, and, you know, you didn't have anyone really taking care of you. And I always felt like that was the pain that you experienced, and now you've turned it into a purpose because you so have the backs of children. Can you tell us about that early days and how now you're trying to help kids with your organization, Rosie's Theater Kids?
Yeah, well, similar to you, Franny, you know, when you got your diagnosis, you know, a lot of women get diagnosed with cancer and then they get well and they move on and they don't think about it again. But, you know, you had something inside of you that you wanted to help educate and use what fame you have to spread the knowledge. And so in the same sort of way, you know, when I was a kid, I had this teacher in public school who encouraged me to do plays and theater, and it was art. And my mom took us to see Broadway shows before she died, and I remember that being her greatest love. And so when I got, my show was over, I had a foundation for about 10 years. We opened about 25 daycare centers, but I wanted to do something more hands-on. So we started a program where we go to the poorest city schools, public schools in Manhattan, and we teach the 10th graders 17 weeks in the school with the Board of Ed of musical theater education. And at the end of those 17 weeks, the kids go to see a Broadway show, most of them for the first time, even though they live in the theater district. All the kids live below the poverty level. And I remember when we started 10 years ago, I took the first group of about 300 kids in to see Aida. And I was holding the tickets, and this little boy, 10 years old, Zion, says to me, "Hey, Rosie, where do we sit?" And I said, "Hey, dude, how about those empty seats?" And he took a minute, and he took a breath, and he said, "You mean in the velvet?"
Oh,
we get to sit in the velvet. He couldn't believe it, you know.
Rosie,
and so it's
you
really,
are unbelievable.
well, you know, great program. And I know that it helped.
And I know that, you know, when kids, they show up one day and then they don't show up another, their lives are complicated, and you go right into that neighborhood and say, you count, you mean something, you're worth it. Come back to Rosie's Theater Kids, and we want to be your family. And it's just, I applaud you. You're an amazing woman.
Well, thank you, honey. And you know what? The kids really revived me.
Now, on a lighter note, on a lighter note, Rosie, obviously, you're the pro when it comes to talk shows, and me here, I'm doing Talk Show 101. Do you have any advice for me?
Honey, just be you. Who else is there but you? Come on, I would watch the Fran show. I'm watching it now. I love the set.
Thank you. That's the best advice you can give me. I miss you. I love you. And I'm so happy to hear the good news about you all the way around. And thank you for sharing your story with us, dear girls. And any of you viewers at home, if you're interested in supporting Rosie's Theater Kids, please go to frandrescher.com.
Love you. Bye.
Now, coming up next, he's one of the Forbes richest men, but in high school, he was voted least likely to succeed. Boy, were they wrong. You won't believe who it is. Please stay tuned.